Now let's bring you back home, and it's our focus here on ENC this morning. The first 6 months of this year, police stations in KZN, in Mpumalanga and Gauteng, recording the most number of kidnapping cases. Now listen to this. In Gauteng alone, more than 200 cases were reported. So what measures are actually in place to try and fight the increase in abductions? Well, let's hope we can get some answers from the head of forensic investigations at D&K Management Consultants. It's Pierre Gildenhuys joining us this morning. Pierre, good to have you with us. Is it Gildenhuys or Gildenhuys? I'm sorry, I think I got your surname incorrect. You can hear me. Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth.
Tell me about the forensic investigations into what you're seeing so far, because we're trying to get an understanding of not just why kidnappings are happening, but forensically as well. What have you uncovered? What's your view on this?
Look, my view is simple. It's not a complicated answer as to why things are happening. You need to understand that, as you discussed with Ollie now in the UK with your correspondent, everywhere in the world, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's in Russia, relatives of mine that live in Estonia even, everywhere there's like a financial panic, and there's panic setting in all over the place. Making a quick buck is an easy thing to do. When it comes to kidnapping, it is extremely easy because people are so vulnerable to this type of crime to be extorted by yourself. They extort your loved ones to say, listen, to ensure the safe return of your loved ones, you need to pay us X amount into our Bitcoin account or into our e-wallet, to our cell phone number. And I mean, it makes crime easy. Not talking about the consequences in South Africa for doing these crimes. We are so accustomed to having a talk at the bride to say, you know, when you call the cops, they take 20 minutes, half an hour to arrive. They never pitch up. They never do their work. Cases are not being followed up. They're not even being placed on the roll. Not even to talk with, kidnappings, but in a big part of my line of work is investigating theft at major companies, big companies, and where there's clear-cut fraud even, clear-cut theft cases, the system is failing to place those people on the roll.
And do you think, Pierre, it's interesting what you're saying. I can't help but then think that criminals know this. If you know this, I know this, South Africa knows this. The criminals know how ineffective the police are, and it's just opening up the floodgates, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what makes it worse for me is I've had it twice, believe it or not, in my career at D&K, where I've had one suspect twice in an interview session where I asked him, listen, I've seen you before. We've dealt with this matter before. How come, things haven't changed? And his answer was quite simple, is that I got away with it the last time. Why wouldn't I get away with it this time? And it's the same with kidnapping cases. If they try it once, they get away with it, they'll try it again. It's quick and easy money. Simple as that.
Who would you say are people most at risk of being kidnapped? We had a conversation with Yusuf Abramji earlier. Pierre, I'm not sure if you were able to watch that. He was saying people who are overly active on social media, people who glaringly have a lot of money. But then on the other hand, people who have cash-run businesses. So to your mind, who is most at risk? But it's not random. It seems random, but it's very well coordinated and planned, isn't it?
Gareth, I'll tell you one thing. I would go as far as to say that the likelihood of me being kidnapped versus the likelihood of the 5-year-old boy in Tembisa being kidnapped are very close to each other. Whether I have money or whether I don't have money, it doesn't exclude me from crime. Just because you have certain status, whether it be high or low in society, cannot exclude you from any crime happening to you. We are all vulnerable. We are all equally at risk, especially when driving at night. But, even so more, it's not only happening during the night, it's happening in broad daylight. Businesses with high cash flow are obviously being targeted, the owners of those companies. Families, like we saw the last year, the Moti family was targeted because there were large amounts of cash looming around, and rumors got out, and things happened. because you have and you keep a certain level of status in society, nothing wrong with it. But it makes you vulnerable and it makes you susceptible to this type of crime if you don't take the necessary measures and precautions to put it in place to know, because I have this status, because I know my business is doing well and there's a lot of cash flow, I need to put certain measures in place. To ensure it's safekeeping is like locking your door at night. You need to put measures in place to stop these things, or at least prevent it as best as you can.